What's going on, everybody? Today we gonna talk about war. We're gonna talk about war and suffering. Probably my favorite kind of war and suffering is the one that is not real. The one that I experience in my pajamas in my air-conditioned room. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right. We are going to be talking about the very real possibility that we might have a Battlefield Battle Royale. Now, nothing has been confirmed as far as I'm aware recently, but there has been a lot of rumors and speculation that I've been seeing online. So much, in fact, that I was like, let me make a video and hop on this little rumor train. I think that it is easy for every FPS game to come out to be like, man, you know, I really wish this had a battle royale. In this case, I really do hope that Battlefield is going to have a battle royale, and there are several reasons why I think that it would be a good idea for Battlefield Studios or EA to hop back into the market. We're going to get into some of the specifics why I think that is a good idea, and stick around towards the end of the video. I'm going to go into a list of very specific things that I think, if they do decide to, 4 specific things that I think that they absolutely need to do and they need to have in the game for it to be successful. But to start, I just kind of want to lay some of the groundwork of the Battle Royale scene right now and why I think that the market is just at a low point and now is probably the best time for them to strike if they're going to do it, and why I think it makes a lot of sense. So I want to get into, to start, what I think is probably the best example of a battle royale that we all loved and could all play and have a good time, and that, my friends, would be something called 2019 Call of Duty Warzone. This hot, stinky, poo-poo garbage of a title once was the king of the battle royale scene. Many titles have come and gone, but Warzone has somewhat stayed relevant throughout its whole entire life cycle, which, surprisingly enough, I think is mostly due to bad competition. It had simple boots on the ground combat. It had relatively simple weapon systems and a little bit of customization at the start, but nothing crazy. It had simple vehicles. It had effective team play. And it wasn't overly complicated. Like, you didn't have to look up a YouTube essay video on how to play a particular character, kind of like how you do in like Apex Legends or something like that. I love the Apex, but I think like me and many others, it's just your game's too hard to get into. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. There is a dedicated cult fan base of Apex Legends, and that's an example of a BR that took a different turn and found an audience that love it, and I respect it. You know, if you love Apex, kudos to you. But me, for one, I just don't have the time to sit here and learn how to play the game. And for me, I'm the kind of person where I feel like I need to know how to play all of those characters in order to understand the game fully and have a good time. However, Call of Duty, for some reason, just completely forgot what they wanted the game to be in the first place. We went from simple, gritty, boots on the ground, squad combat to literally a just hacker-fueled microtransaction cesspool with cartoon characters and unicorn guns. And then Call of Duty just wants to be like, you know, well, like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong, bro? Like, you not liking our game no more? How about another one? How about another piece of... Oh, you liked COD 4 and World at War and just like that gritty, simple Call of Duty feel? Now, how about Beavis and Butthead skins? How about that? It went from like somewhat of a stable reality and simple experience to just an insanely sweaty and cheater-filled game that feels more like playing dress-up with soldiers rather than like Barbies at this point, with like neon-colored skins and sci-fi animated weapons and just, again, just straight-up cartoon characters at this point. I think that we can all agree that it's an empty shell of what it used to be. And, you know, the last time that I played it was when they first brought back Verdansk, and I think it was Black Ops 6. And to be honest, you know, like, I played it for a couple weeks. I'm sure like probably many of you did. And then I just stopped because it was the same old thing, just straight poo-poo, sweaty garbage again. So, you know, this led me into looking to some other games to play. Like, I started playing Battlefield 2042. And like, let me tell you, like, at the launch of 2042, it was bad. It was rough. The game was not optimized well. Honestly, I didn't play it for like probably half of its life cycle, but I'm sure like many of you, I was yearning for something a little more simple and grounded. And so I gave it a shot, and you know, it's not bad. I know this is like the same old story of a game comes out, it's bad, and then a couple years later down the road, it's good. But like, I am genuinely having fun with the game. I just wish it felt like this at launch. I did start looking into some more hardcore FPS titles like Insurgency and Tarkov and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I still love those games. And when I'm in the mood for something a little bit more hardcore and punishing, I will move to those games. But at the end of the day, you know, I grew up with Call of Duty. I grew up with Halo. I grew up with Battlefield. Like just that slightly arcadey feel and that longer time to kill just is a little bit more enjoyable, I think, to the mass audience. I had a great time just casually playing, not taking things too seriously, just enjoying the gunplay and the feeling of just being a little bit more free of what you want to do in the game. Like Battlefield's a little bit more obviously sandboxy than Call of Duty is. So it got me looking into the Battlefield community again, and that's where I ran across these rumors that we might be having a Battle Royale. And if you've been following the community like I have, you also probably saw the typical slogan of remember, no pre-order. People are saying remember, no pre-orders. And don't get me wrong, I agree. I think that as a community, we have been burned too many times in like the past 5 years with just false promises, false hope, and it's just terrible. There has been just failed slop launch after failed launch, and you know, some games not even making it like a week. Concord. However, a lot of the clips that I'm seeing online of this game look very promising. It looks epic, it looks immersive, it looks promising. Do I think that this game is going to make me like mess my britches and teleport me back to a time where things were simpler and I had all the time in the world to indulge myself in games like this? No, not really. Do I secretly wish that it would? Absolutely. I think deep down we all want to feel that again. We all want to ride that wave of just a really good PR. And I think that, you know, here is an opportunity for Battlefield Studios to do this. However, I don't want to get too hyped up and excited over this. I think a better way to look at this might be to lower your expectations a little bit and realize that even if Battlefield 6 has a Battle Royale at launch, when it does come out, you know, in the end, it's still just a Battle Royale. Like, we've played this before. We know how the general flow and the idea of gameplay goes. So it's not like I'm overly excited about something new here or like we're reinventing the wheel. However, let's just like think a moment about how many good, grounded, military, tactical Battle Royale shooters are out there right now. Ones that have like a majorly popular fan base and work well. Ones that don't include several pay-to-win features and are just bloated with microtransactions. I mean, really the only one that comes to mind to me is like PUBG, and that's like still a little bit of a stretch. I mean, you have your hardcore like Tarkov shooters and stuff like that and like extraction shooters. But like in terms of Battle Royales that fit that bill, I just can't really think of any. So to me, in my eyes, the seat is open. Like, I know that there are several, if not like, you know, millions of people out there that are wanting to at least have a grounded Battle Royale experience again. One that they can just boot up, hop into a game, and not be greeted with 100 tabs of transactions and store items. And I think Battlefield could fill this gap in a major way, because to be honest, I don't think Warzone is redeemable at this point. I'm a little bit of an older gamer.
Dipshit. No, God. Give me a soda. Get it from the nurse's stash. None of that diet crap.
And if you're like me and still holding on to this hope that Call of Duty will just someday wake up and realize where it went wrong and revert back to the way things should be, I just don't think they're listening, and they haven't been for years. You can almost feel this like dread in the community of, oh no, here comes another title. Of like, oh no, here comes another letdown. The community, you can feel, is just still like, you know, just prepped for another disappointment because we've just had so many at this point. I can't imagine how frustrating probably it is for a studio to invest millions and millions of dollars into a game and put out all this marketing material and trailers, and then for the community to just kind of respond like, okay, we'll see. But I think deep down, we're all kind of secretly hoping that this is going to be the game. And not even in terms of just Battle Royale, but in just terms of just normal Battlefield, you know, Conquest, Rush, TDM, all these other game modes. Like, players want to return to that grounded experience. We don't need some majorly overhauled, bright idea that is going to completely change the way that the game is played. But I think what is better would be just a simple but yet effective evolution of the series. In terms of Battle Royale, we all know how Firestorm was in 2019, which compared to Warzone was just not fun at all, in my opinion. It didn't really feel like it had any new gameplay twists or any emphasis on like destruction at all, which used to be like a major part of Battlefield. Like one of the major selling points was you could just blow up anything that you want. But like, I felt like there was just hardly any in that. There was like no major teamwork systems or mechanics, nothing to really grind to or like grind for. It just felt really hollow. The question now is, you know, Battlefield wasn't ready then. Is it ready now? And, you know, like, have they learned from those mistakes? And are they going to deliver on the product that people want? I think in terms of a Battle Royale, they don't really realize how many eyes maybe are on them and hoping for a return to this classic grounded experience. But like, let's be real, Battlefield doesn't have to make a Battle Royale to make me want to come back to this kind of experience. Game modes like Conquest and Rush, you know, that's really all I want. Just make it simple, make it just gun on gun gameplay, simple vehicles, tanks maybe, weapon drops, basic loadouts, things like that. The gameplay looks gritty, it looks real, it looks fun, the animations look satisfying from what I've been seeing. Sound looks good, or the sound sounds good rather. So I think in theory everything they have looks promising. It's just going to be the execution that we're going to have to wait and see. So in terms of the execution, let's talk about a few things that I think need to happen. The top 4 things I think need to happen if they're going to go for a Battle Royale. The number 1 thing that I think we need is a good anti-cheat system. I cannot tell you how many times I have dropped a game completely just because it had a terrible anti-cheat system. I mean, just think about it. There are so many games out these days that almost every other game that you play, you run into a cheater. Warzone is just totally infested with them at this moment. PUBG has a lot of cheaters. I don't know if Apex does or not. I imagine it probably does from like all the news that I've been seeing about it. So it's like, what BR has a good anti-cheat system? I think if implemented correctly, this could be the one. I mean, to be honest, I'm just convinced that Call of Duty is actually selling cheats to people at this point. I feel like some days I can't even like get to the create a class menu without running into a cheater. I don't even know how that would be possible, but like it wouldn't surprise me. I think at minimum, I just want like 20 games in a row without running into a cheater. Realistically, it should be at 0, but you know, at this current time, it feels like asking for 20 is kind of a stretch. So we need a good anti-cheat system. People are tired. They're going to drop your game in a week if it's just filled with cheaters and exploits. So we need a good anti-cheat. Number 2 is we need a solid, relatively bug-free launch. Now, I know we're talking about Battlefield here. Let's face it, there's probably going to be bugs. But I'm not asking for a 100% bug-free experience at launch. Although it would be nice and ideal, you know. Part of me is like has an attitude of like if I give someone money for a product, it should work. Really, in the gaming industry, that doesn't tend to happen very often. So all I'm asking for is a bug-free experience that is good enough for the majority of the player base not to just drop it within the first couple weeks. We don't need another situation like Battlefield 2042 where people had like $5,000 computers and rigs and just couldn't play the game. Now my computer was nowhere near that price, but I had a well above average computer at the time, and the game was playing like I was running it on like a fridge or something, like a smart fridge. And honestly, that's kind of one of the major, if not the major reason why I stopped playing 2042. You know, I don't want to be spawn trapped at launch on certain maps just because they're poorly designed, basically making it like unplayable. To me, it's just like, you know, how many years has it been? How many FPS games and iterations of like FPS games have there been? How many examples do we have of things that work and don't work? So I feel like at this point, when games come out, there's just hardly any excuse. Like, we've had so many shooter games throughout the years that how has no one just like looked and been like, okay, this didn't work for this game, let's not do that. This didn't work for that game, don't do that. But all in all, we'll see. I just really need to have a solid launch. I think it would be very good if companies could just stop releasing games that are just straight up not finished. Coming in at number 3, we have good and frequent meaningful content. And I'm talking about content updates. You know, I think the days of waiting like 6 months for a map to release are kind of gone. Many gamers these days, I'm afraid, will just simply not stick around for very long if there isn't some sort of update or change to the game. And, you know, this can be something that, you know, I'm talking about like maps. I'm talking about game modes, game events, challenges, progression challenges. We need content that is going to keep us coming back for more. Something that we have like in the back of our minds during the workday that we're just like, you know, I can't wait to get home and do X, Y, and Z. I can't wait to get home and grind for this weapon or grind for this helicopter upgrade. Give us meaningful, good content, not anime slop or cartoon characters that add nothing to the value of the game other than a desperate cry of just give me money. And coming in at number 4, I think is the most important ingredient I think we're missing. And Battlefield devs, if you're listening to this, you know, I think we're going to have this based off the footage I've seen, but like we need destruction. We need Levolution. To put it simple and short, I want to see stuff blow up. Everything. Buildings, furniture, people, vehicles, roads, sidewalks, trees, skyscrapers falling over, little Easter eggs you can do to change the layout of the map. You know, if I ram a jet into a bridge and cause it to explode, I want that bridge to not be there. If I shoot a huge tank round into a hill, I want there to be a huge dent in that hill. And the Battlefield 2042, in my experience, didn't have a lot of this at launch, it felt like to me. It felt like it was just a total afterthought of the game, and they were more focused on like the class system and agent abilities, like so many other games have moved to. Levolution and destruction used to be the main selling point of Battlefield, and recently it has just felt like an afterthought for me. Now, playing 2042 recently, I've had a lot of fun. There's been a lot of destruction and it's gotten better, but this goes back to having a good launch. Like there needs to be at its core, the core ingredients that make Battlefield at launch. So I hope the developers and all the higher ups understand that. And, you know, I think all in all, I just wanted to get out some of my thoughts about the franchise and where we came from, what is happening at this current moment and where we are now with these titles. And how I do really think that Battlefield has a wide open layup right here that is just wide open for the taking and could make a meaningful impact on their reputation and the scene in general. I think that we'll have to wait until I believe it's July 31st that the multiplayer reveal drops. And I'm thinking about making a deep dive going into that, doing like an in-depth analysis of what's going on in that. So if you would be interested in that, definitely let me know. Leave me a comment, drop me a like. If you enjoyed this video, give me a subscribe and stick around for more. And I plan on covering this game as it comes up. So I appreciate your time. And as always, thank you for watching.